Hi, Gary Mintchell here. This is another Automation Minutes coming back to you on March 8th. Of course, the big news from last month is that I stepped back as a full-time editor-in-chief. Just felt like it was time. I looked around and there'd been a lot of changes at Automation World, and I really felt like I had a need to go create some other new things. I do a lot of free consulting for people. I thought, what the heck, maybe I can get paid for some of the consulting. And plus explore new opportunities in journalism, blog style stuff and that sort of thing, and develop that and see if I can make a little bit of income and have some fun again. So I'm off to do that, working on some stuff. I have a website designer working on a new website that I'll be morphing over to, and a graphic designer working on some stuff. I'm working on some stuff, and you'll see more in April coming out as I continue to develop that and see where I can go with a new generation of covering automation and manufacturing. Also, I needed to set aside a little bit of other time. It was real, they just kept snowballing, and I wanted to do a new ministry within the church. I still do all my soccer referee stuff, and I really had cut back quite a bit on that. So that's sort of what's happening. In February, just to move right on, I took off and went to the ARC forum. Now, that was the first public exposure I had that I was going to try some new stuff, and I had stepped down away from Automation World. By the way, I am still running a column for them, and I'm covering some events. I covered a Siemens event. I'll be covering Hanover Fair. So a few things. It's not like I just totally gone, but not doing the day-to-day stuff. So ARC has these press conferences they always do, and there weren't as many this year. I think there were only 6. A lot of people, they determined, how do I want to say this politely? Some people had press conferences, I think, just to have press conferences so they could get in front of the press, but they discovered that most of us really want news, and we don't like to just sit there and listen to some executive go on and on and on, and there's nothing to really report. So that's okay. So out of the press conferences, one of the first ones, there's a little company in California, in Sacramento, and they do cloud-based stuff. And I think they're almost 10 years old. Inductive automation, interesting people. I visited out there a couple of times, actually did a podcast in their conference room. Some of the original founders are database experts. University of California, whatever campus is out close that way. Is it Davis, or I get confused about California. But it's not because I'm from Ohio. But anyway, really bright people on databases. And so they've been chugging along and doing pretty good, picking up a lot of business. And ARC was like their big exposure. They said, hey, it's time to tell the world about us, other than just having Gary Mintchell write about me occasionally. So they had quite an exposure there. I haven't followed up to see how it went for them. Hopefully fairly well. Nice company. And interesting thing is, like I said, it's a cloud-based HMI SCADA. They also have some MES, involved in the whole thing. But they do a little bit of open source stuff, and they have an open source app store now they're coming up with, so that people add these little apps within their ignition system. That's what the name. And those are for sale. And you can, if you're using Ignition, you come up with a new idea, what the heck, write it down, just submit it, and maybe you can sell a few of them to some of the other integrators. Interesting idea. I bet we see a lot more of that kind of stuff coming up with some of these other companies. Interesting about the cloud. There was a lot of backdoor talk about the cloud at ARC. Every once in a while, I would pick up from people that were skeptical about the cloud, or what is it really like, and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually happening. Talked to a lot of people who are actually doing it. The Amazon S3, database that you can rent and all that sort of stuff. People talked about it just as if it's just another app and whatever. Yeah, I've got data, sitting at Amazon, or I've got data sitting somewhere else. Doesn't matter. Very interesting concept. It was really coming along well. And a little bit later, discovered that Invensys Operations Management has a whole bunch of blogs. And actually, all of a sudden, there's just an explosion of blogs. And we'll see, there used to be just a couple, and now there's a lot. And we'll see how many of them stick to it. The biggest thing I've seen is people don't stick to them. They'll write a couple of them, never hear from them again. And that's kind of the worst part of the whole thing. So we'll see how they do. There's some interesting things. So Tim Soul, who's a VP at IOM, Did a post on cloud, and Rick Bulata, a guy I've known through several iterations of starting up new companies, had a comment going on. We're trying to get investors to upgrade the blog a little bit for comments and get some really good conversations going through the comments and so on. But so cloud is getting to be interesting, and so inductive used to be like way out there, and now they're not quite mainstream, but it's getting there. What else was going on? Hey, Invesis did take some time for a press conference, and their big announcements are all about safety. They had 2-3 things going on, some new safety-oriented stuff. You could catch all this on my blog, by the way. And an interesting part is they really made a point of including OPC UA. After years of writing about OPC UA, trying to explain it, trying to figure out why it was good and all that stuff, I knew it would take time because it has to get incorporated at the design phase and into the product phase and then into the end users. But Invesis has got OPC UA embedded, which is a cool thing, and we're going to see a lot more about OPC UA in the future. Energy, tying energy to automation has been a big deal for quite some time. And both Yokogawa announced that they had purchased a company, or invested in a company. I think it's basically a purchase. And kind of tying energy at a level of Yokogawa and process automation together. And then Schneider Electric. Schneider, of course, is a conglomerate, if you will, of a bunch of power and energy companies and automation companies. And they've been trying to put it together in their structure with an X Pro platform. And the intriguing thing about Schneider's new thing is the integrated design environment, IDE, that incorporates. So I look at it, I thought this is really cool. It goes, there's the P and ID, and then the programming design and the whole engineering environment. This is all really cool. And so I said, oh, can you do this and this and this? And then Mary Ramsey, the VP, says, whoa, hold on, one step at a time. But there are some cool things happening at Schneider. They're a cautious company, and they're taking a step at a time, shall we say, as they improve on that. But I think there's some potential there that Schneider can get a little more into the conversation on automation. They've really emphasized power an awful lot more than automation lately. They got a lot of automation. It's just like, hey, talk about it. So that's coming. It's interesting. It's a really good tool. I hope they continue to invest in that tool. It's really good potential, and it's really important for this idea of being able to take live data from the design to the construction to the programming and engineering, and then the operations and maintenance, and this is all tied together into a database. What they showed was like the potential that they could be able to do it with some good pieces in there, and I hope they continue to develop it. Moving past that, some time ago I had a conversation with Rockwell about a new safety tool. I think what we're going to see as we move forward into the new generation of engineers coming in, maybe people that don't stay 25 years in one place or 30, maybe their choice or maybe not their choice, as has happened to me in my career. But anyway, so I think tools are kind of interesting. A long time ago I took a class on the European ratings of machine safety and the SIL levels and how to evaluate machines and hazards and risks and all that stuff. And I thought, well, this is all really good. It takes a lot of engineering, takes a lot of time. Most companies don't like to allow their engineers to take that kind of time to actually engineer things, which is a pain if you're an engineer. But Rockwell has a new safety tool, which is pretty cool. It'll look at this design documentation of a machine, and you could sit there and look at like a plan view or different views and point out the hazards and circle them, and then start to do your risk analysis so you can do your SIL level analysis and all that sort of thing, record it, all that kind of thing. It looked like a really cool tool. I didn't get to play with it, but it looks really good, and I think that's another wave of the future as we look into more of these tools kind of things. Best practices are always good. What did somebody do that worked? I've been writing about that for years, trying to find those kind of stories. Charlie Gifford is an ISA 95 manufacturing operations management, or MES, MOM expert and integrator, and he works a lot with that. And he is a leader of a working group within ISA 95. Has a new book on best practices in MOM. And I have not been able to read it yet. I'll get it as soon as I get my grubby little fingers on it. I'm sure it's good. But anyway, you can go to the ISA store and pick it up. And once again, the reference is on my blog at GaryMintchellsFeedforward.com. I got a press release quite a few weeks ago from ISA about Automation Week, and they talked about doing that they were actually going to do a 2013 version of Automation Week, which surprised many of us, and for which I got into a little bit of trouble again. But that's the story of my life. But I thought, well, what's up? And it didn't make a lot of sense. Well, it turns out their release, my reaction, were both a little premature and not enough information. And I started to pick up stuff through the rumor mills and backdoor stories and conversations. And now, because I'm on a reflector with a bunch of committees on ISA, I've seen a few things come out. And so there is going to be an Automation Week, an ISA Automation Week, first week in November in Nashville, Tennessee. Nice city to visit. A little bit bad timing for me, but they're not going to depend on me to be there anyway. I'll be there if I can. But I would encourage all ISA members to take a look. I have a link on my blog under this post on the Automation Week, where if you want to write a paper and present a paper there, you have until April 2nd to get that information in an abstract and hopefully get approved. I've been a bug for years that ISA has so many members that know so much and have so much experience and expertise. Why can't they get the members out to help contribute to these sort of things? And it bugs me a little bit that ISA really doesn't seem to be able to do that. But there's sort of a caveat in there. When a focused group gets together, the ISA Water Wastewater Group, excuse me, they have very successful, smaller, focused forums. The ISA Marketing and Sales Group, led by Sherry Worthington, once again, they've had, I think I've lost track of how many they've had now, but quite a few. The idea of getting automation marketing professionals together to talk about how better to explain to potential customers what automation is all about and that sort of thing. Very, very successful also. It's when they started to think big and grandiose, but I think that's partly ISA and it's partly the way of the world right now. We're not really looking for big, grandiose things. We're looking for focused, targeted conferences where we can go. Hopefully we can justify to our bosses. Well, right now I just have to justify to me. But anyway, the educational value is so good that it's worth the $1,000 plus conference fee to go attend to these things. So take a look at it. It's going to be a conference only, no expo. They're kind of scaling down. I think they're still talking a little broad with a lot of tracks. Personally, the trouble with automation is it's so broad, you tend to start expanding to see if you can include more things. And personally, I am really getting to be more and more a fan of focus and focus on a segment and just go for that. And if you can get 100 people to a conference that's focused on a specific topic, I think you have done a tremendous service to the industry. And finally, before I wrap up here, congratulations to the HART Communication Foundation. It's their 20th anniversary. And part of what they'll be celebrating is at Hanover. And I'm going to be going to Hanover to represent Automation World and report back in the pages of Automation World what's going on at the Hanover Fair. This is the 1st of April, so that's only a month away. So there happen to be two things going on at the same time at Hanover. There's an event in one building, and HART will be in another building. It's never easy. I will be at both, so glad to see all my HART friends while I'm there as they celebrate their 20th and talk about all the achievements that they've made. And certainly HART is in almost every plant. The unfortunate thing is not everybody's using it to the full extent that it's capable of. And quite frankly, maintenance people, operations people could all improve everything that's going on in a plant much better if they'd make more use out of the HART information they already have. It's already sitting there, and just wire it in. But there are a lot of plants that do use it,